Hi, everybody. My name is Hartej Sawhney. I'm the CMBDO, Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer, which is a mouthful of Credo.com, QREDO, which is a cross-chain liquidity AMM. And I'm also the CEO and principal of Zokyo.io, which used to be known as Hosho, where we do security auditing, and we've now developed a DeFi venture studio. So it's kind of like a DeFi accelerator, incubator, and we focus quite a bit on cybersecurity as well. We've audited smart contracts since the beginning of the ICO phase, and we've arguably audited more smart contracts for ICOs than anybody else in the space, and we're still active. But today I wanted to give a quick talk about security. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to try to keep this brief and relatively basic, because the reality of the cryptocurrency industry is that it's still not respecting basic security standards. A lot of the cybersecurity standards that we see today in industries like healthcare and in finance, thanks to regulations and regulatory frameworks like PCI compliance and HIPAA compliance, basic cybersecurity standards tend to be met when it comes to fintech and healthcare. When it comes to cryptocurrency, we've had $13 billion stolen amongst 325 events. And this is a mark for concern. And recently in DeFi, as I'm sure many of you have been following, there's been a lot of recent hacks in DeFi in which the hackers have started to actually conduct hacks and then use decentralized exchanges, which are DEXs, as money mixers. Most recently, around $200 to $270 million was stolen from the cryptocurrency exchange in Korea, KuCoin, and significant amounts of funds were then mixed through Uniswap's decentralized exchange. This is the first time we've seen something like that happen. And the thing is that large VASPs in the space like Gemini and Binance, centralized exchanges have the bandwidth, the bankroll, and the sophistication to actually go through legitimate security standard practices. So SOC 2 and ISO 27001 are two really crucial certifications and auditing processes that not only every centralized exchange should be going through, but every decentralized exchange also should be going through this. And this is a problem that needs to be discussed further in the industry, is that when are we going to make this a standard for all decentralized and centralized exchanges? We need to make this a standard in the space. And then when it comes to centralized and decentralized exchanges, they're essentially a black box, because nobody knows how private keys are managed at most crypto exchanges, which is a massive problem. There's a lack of transparency in this space. And then to bring the focus on the actual customers, the thing is that in crypto, the onus for protection is completely on the currency holder. And that in and of itself has led to a significant amount of lack of adoption in this space, because it's not easy for the average Joe to safely hold their own crypto. And most people have really poor personal cybersecurity standards. And in this year alone, we've had 75 crypto exchanges just close down. Amongst crypto, we have two types of storage. A lot of crypto exchanges that have gone down and have been hacked, they've been hacked because of vulnerabilities found in their hot wallets. And the safest way for individuals to store their personal crypto is by leveraging cold wallets. Cold wallets are like Ledger, Trezor, hardware wallets that are actually offline, not connected to the internet. Hot wallets, for example, could be a wallet that you have downloaded on your phone And the worst of all is people who still leave money sitting on cryptocurrency exchanges, which is still very prevalent. I apologize. I started getting an incoming call. So my piece of advice for the audience listening today is it's super crucial to set up 2FA with the hardware key and to be more mindful of your personal cybersecurity. As an individual investing in the cryptocurrency space, you can't really do much about the behaviors of others, but you can protect yourself. And most people have poor password management on their own. So A, you need to regularly change your passwords. B, you need to set up two-factor authentication. That's what 2FA is. And three, the best way to set up 2FA is with a hardware key. Now, I'm by no means paid by Google or YubiKey, but my favorite is Google's Titan key, which is what this picture shows. I like the Google Titan key because it has Bluetooth, and I like being able to leverage it with ease using the Bluetooth connection. You have made the lives of hackers extremely difficult for whatever you do on the internet if you have set up two-factor authentication. And this is not just for crypto people, this is for people and anybody using the internet. Set up two-factor authentication, go online, buy a Google Titan key. And for people who own companies, buy every single one of your employee a Google Titan key. Why wouldn't you? Google doesn't have any supply chain issues on these Titan keys, which is why I prefer them over Yubi. Yubi keys tend to have a supply chain issue. I can't order thousands of them and get them shipped to Ukraine. Use a VPN. Sorry if this is obvious. And again, I'm not paid by NordVPN, but I like NordVPN. I think it's a great solution. There's also ExpressVPN and dozens of others. Use a VPN, pay for it, it's worth it. Exercise caution when investing into crypto. When you're investing into cryptocurrency projects, read the actual white paper, do background research on these team. Who are these team? Who is this team? What is their background? Have they ever successfully raised capital? Is the company legally domiciled? In decentralized finance world, a lot of people are launching anonymous projects without any verification of this company being domiciled, or does the company have legal governance? There's no such thing as actually being anonymous unless you've set up legal governance. Did you check if this company's code has been audited? Was the smart contract audited by at least one third-party professional? Does this company actually solve a problem? These are basic questions you should be asking yourself if you're buying cryptocurrencies. In this world of decentralized finance and crypto, code has to be 100% before it's deployed. Because if not, it's irreversible, and millions of dollars are about to flow through these smart contracts. And nowadays in the decentralized finance world, we're seeing things like yield farms, where in the yield farm world, you're earning maximum yield in the first 5 days, maybe 10 days of the yield farm. Most of the time, those first 5 days of earning maximum yield are when the smart contracts are public, the farm is public without being audited. There is no audit. This is a massive issue that needs to be discussed in this space. People investing into unaudited projects being released without proof of audit. A lot of you are trading on decentralized exchanges, Uniswap and Mooniswap and Balancer and Curve. Back up your MetaMask wallet with Ledger. I know a lot of people watching this right now are using MetaMask, and you haven't probably gone through the effort of backing it up with a Ledger. Take the time to do it. It's worth your time. I wanted to keep this presentation extremely brief, actually, and just touch on those basic points because I don't think it can be iterated anymore. The industry needs to start having better standards for security. If you are launching a cryptocurrency project, I suggest getting 2 to 3 third-party audits. I suggest going through a penetration testing of your website, of your network, of any apps that you've built. I suggest if you're using Amazon Web Services, to get a third-party cybersecurity team who specializes in offensive security services to actually go in and do VAPT testing and to do data leak discovery. Check your cloud services for data leaks. These things need to be discussed far more often. And I'd like to see this industry mature when it comes to cybersecurity so that more of us are able to convince larger institutional entities to finally deploy their capital into the digital asset realm. A big hurdle for large institutions entering the cryptocurrency space and digital asset space at the moment has to do with lack of security standards being met by the companies currently in the space. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any Q&A. I wanted to keep this extremely brief.
Thank you so much. I have a question till wait in our audience, maybe questions. You had those slides with $13 billion, right?
Yeah.
What are your expectations for the next year, for example, on this figure? It will be growing up, or just falling down?
My prediction is it's going to go up. I really would hope from the bottom of my heart that we do a better job as an industry to make it go down. But if I were to predict, if I were to gamble on this matter and bet on augur and the prediction odds of which way this is going to go, it's sad to say, but the hacks are only going to increase. One of the fundamental reasons is that this is really low-hanging fruit for professional hackers to go after. For hackers to go after and try to spearfish, for example, an entire team that runs a cryptocurrency exchange. If you're not familiar with spearfishing is one of the most common forms of phishing attacks. It means that basically you've clicked a link that was malicious. So or maybe you opened a PDF that was malicious. So you opened an email from somebody and clicked a link, and the email, instead of saying @coindesk.com, it said @coindesk with the C.com. And it was slightly misspelled by just one period or one letter, and it looked like somebody you actually know at CoinDesk, and you ended up getting spearphished. We've seen multiple campaigns of hackers going after all of the employees of major companies in crypto and spearphishing them over 1 to 2 year periods and taking anywhere from $20 to $100 million. And a significant amount of hacks in this space continue to just completely go unreported. And a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges that are centralized especially have not been transparent as much as KuCoin has recently with their hack. They've been extremely transparent about what has happened. We've had lots of centralized exchanges not be as transparent. And security standards in the cryptocurrency space need to improve, most of all in-house. Most crypto companies don't have a chief information security officer. They don't have somebody in-house full-time dedicated to security. To think about, is everybody in our team using a company laptop? Is everybody using a hardware key? Have we checked the Wi-Fi router? Have we secured our router? Do we have physical security standards in place? Do we have standards and training in place for every single month, training our employees on what are the most common phishing attacks happening in the world right now? And I find it interesting that, not interesting, I think that it's crucial for people to tell all the employees of companies in crypto that if you are the employee of a crypto company today, you are a target, and hackers have a higher statistical chance of going for you. And I know that sounds scary and people don't want to digest that, but it's just the reality. If you are, especially if you're a public facing person with your first and last name on the internet, and you are affiliated with the cryptocurrency industry, you are in fact a target. And a lot of people they don't want to believe that. They're like, I'm just a late stage employee at this cryptocurrency exchange. Why would anyone want to go for me? I only have a couple of Bitcoin. Well, the hacker doesn't know that you only have a couple of Bitcoin. The hacker might think you have hundreds of Bitcoin. Hacker's only going to find out after the fact, right? And so people need to stop being lazy, and we can't wait for companies to hire CISOs. people in the industry need to step up their own security diligence on their own. You need to read about security. You need to take some time to protect yourself, because the more you protect yourself online, this will also help you protect yourself offline. Because the last thing you want is for somebody to threaten you and to threaten you for Bitcoin, but to be threatening the physical safety of your own family, and to say, we've been watching your family, we know where your kids go to school, we know where your wife works. That's not something you want to deal with. A lot of this topic in and of itself is not discussed enough in this space. Physical security, cybersecurity. We have companies come to us right now during DeFi every single day where they want a smart contract audit. And I'll tell you that we are not just an auditing firm. We are definitely helping finish these smart contracts in a way. We're helping them do testing. We're conducting a manual audit before even doing an automated audit and saying, we found so many vulnerabilities and you haven't finished writing tests for this. You've got to go back, write tests for this. And we suggest rewriting a bunch of the vulnerabilities that we found. And maybe they're not vulnerabilities. Maybe we found simply better functions for you to write this smart contract to save a large amount of gas fees. Quality of code during DeFi has significantly gone down as we've been auditing a lot of contracts. We're seeing some teams of quality engineers write great code, but they didn't have time to finish writing test suites. And in open finance, in an open source world, if you launch an open source project, I should be able to download your code and open up a test environment. And if I can, at the bare minimum, set up deploy your code and set up a testing environment, this is a really bad sign. And the rush in our space at the moment is, how fast can I get my money into a project pre-seed or even in the family friends round before there's any code for me to even look at? Before there's even a website up, someone launches a blog post in DeFi and people are throwing them their first 100 Ethereum. And then the other thing I want to mention actually is when it comes to investing in investing in DeFi. When it comes to investing in DeFi, one thing that's on my mind a lot is that a very small number of investors in DeFi understand that investing in DeFi is so much different than investing as a traditional crypto investor, because it's not a short-term play. You can't just cut a check in a DeFi company and spray and pray. It's actually, investors in DeFi actually have to help with governance, advanced token trading strategies. They probably want to be stakers and validators. They want to fund liquidity on the decentralized exchanges for this token to be successful. The last part is super key. How many investors out there are actually willing to fund the liquidity on DEXs? It's a very small number of investors out there that have that level of maturity and have dedicated themselves to being a sharp investor in DeFi. And we're seeing funds like DeFiance from Arthur and Framework Ventures and Framework Labs, Three Arrows Capital. These are the few investors that we're seeing invest in this sort of a mature manner in DeFi. And again, I have no direct affiliation with any of those funds. I'm not their LP. I'm not their advisor. I'm just appreciating the way in which these funds have carried themselves by being long-term investment partners of companies in DeFi. And we're in the process of doing the same with Zokyo and a new investment vehicle that we're planning to be public with next month.
Just returning to the question about standards, cybersecurity standards, do you believe that the industry itself needs some formal standards for everyone, for every player, or it's just up to the minds of each company to facilitate it on their own?
I think that a privately organized consortium, similar to the way in which PCI compliance level 1, 2, and 3 work, would be ideal. And I think that it's important for the blockchain security experts that are out there in the space, the likes of Trail of Bits, Certic, Quantstamp, Zokyo. I think these types of teams need to come together and actually form an alliance to create these types of standards. This has been discussed for quite some time. The thing is that today, these companies that I mentioned, like Trail of Bits, for example, they've released so much material for people to securely start writing smart contracts. And today in DeFi, I'm still sending those written materials by Trail of Bits to companies, and it doesn't look like they followed it. The level of maturity is not very high at the moment with the majority of the projects. I would like to see a standard.
Do you expect we can see some initiatives around those standards for the whole industry maybe next year or not?
I don't know. I think that what's coming first is increased coercion from governments, and before we, welcome more coercion from governments, we need to get our act together as an industry and create global standards, not standards based on what jurisdiction nationally you're in. It needs to be a global standard. We need to stop separating the Asian norms versus the European norms and the North American norms. We need to have global security standards in the cryptocurrency industry.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Hartej. Amazing presentation and ideas to think about for the future. Thanks for being with us. We have now a coffee break, 20 minutes, and we will be back soon. Thanks.
Cool.
All participants can take seats on those table area and to continue discussions within drinking a coffee virtually. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you so much. And if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter, Mr. Hartej. Find me.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon.